Yo, what's poppin' Pokepals, Rare Boy here, and I'm back with another impossible Pokemon challenge. Today we're going to find out if it's possible to beat Pokemon Gold with only a Happiny. The reason why I chose Happiny is because Chansey and Blissey are hard enough to beat this game with, so let's see how their pre-evolution does. Happiny is notoriously known for having the weakest attack and defense of all Pokemon. Her saving grace will be our immense HP and special defense stats, as well as our TM variety. Our level up moveset isn't bad for a Gen 2 playthrough. Before we can even begin our challenge, we first need to edit Togepi's internal data so that it becomes Happiny. The reason why I choose Togepi for these challenges is that you normally would not run into a wild or trainer-owned Togepi, which makes for a more authentic experience. On top of that, our contender Pokemon sprite is edited in post, and since Togepi has a small sprite, it's easier for me to edit over. Now that Happiny is in our game, let's review the rules of the run. The first rule is that I'm only allowed to use Happiny in battle. We are allowed to capture other Pokemon for HM usage, but they cannot assist Happiny by any means. The second rule is that I'm not allowed to use items in battle. Held items such as leftovers are allowed, but using items such as Hyper Potions are banned until the battle has ended. And finally, no glitches or exploits will be used to complete the game. It's just a normal playthrough of Pokemon Gold but with a Happiny. With the rules explained in our Happiny in-game, let's jump into some gameplay. The first thing I do is pick up Happiny from Professor Elm's lab. For this run, I replace Cyndaquil so our rival takes Feraligatr, who has the highest attack stat of all three starters, giving me more of a challenge in the late game. I name our little helper Joy, because one day she'll grow up to assist Nurse Joy. With Joy on the team, it's time to conquer the Johto region. On our way back from Mr. Pokemon's house, we got jumped by a mysterious redhead, and after charming and pounding his Totodile, sounds like a good night for Joy, we won the battle and made him rage quit like a salty Smash player. As always, I head to Sage Master Lee to obtain the HM for Flash. It's a nifty HM that is a necessity should we make it to Mount Silver this run. Anyways, our special defense played a key role in disposing of his Bellsprouts, and Hoot Hoot wasn't much of a threat. First up on our Johto journey is Faulkner, and Pidgey went down to 2 seismic tosses. Pidgeotto was the real threat, so I charmed him twice before tossing him back into his birdcage for an easy first try victory. I thought this challenge would be a little more difficult, but the run is still young. My first attempt at Bugsy was ironic. We level up after taking on Metapod, but I opted to not learn Heal Bell, only to be poisoned by Kakuna immediately. Because of the residual damage, we got taken out quickly by Scyther. I went straight back in with a new strategy. This time, I set up 6 minimizes against Metapod and proceeded to toss his Chrysalises away. When Scyther came out, I ruined his attack with Charm, then threw him to the moon for the win. Minimize is the same as Double Team, and I consider it to be a cheap trick, so as soon as I can learn Counter, I'll be replacing it. Rival time again, and I had to replace Pound with Mud Slap because we had nothing to combat Ghastly. In hindsight, I should have gotten rid of Minimize, but we'll be learning Headbutt soon. Anyways, with the help of Mud Slap, Seismic Toss, and Charm, we got through this fight on our first try. I gave her the right nickname because this run has been a joy to do so far. And then we got our first loss against Whitney because Clefairy busted out a crit Dizzy Punch that also confused us. Talk about unlucky. I took pride in first try victories against Whitney, and Joy just ruined our streak to some bad RNG. A few attempts later and the RNG was on our side. Clefairy did some small damage to us with Double Slap before going down, and then we lucked out on Milk Tank. At first it looked like a loss for us, but the accuracy drops from Mud Slap finally kicked in once we dropped to 4 HP, and our Quick Claw activated in the end to knock out Milk Tank before she could use Milk Drink for a close call victory. It's Morty time, and I decided to go into this fight with the struggle tactic. The only move Joy can learn at this point to affect Ghosts is Mud Slap, and I don't see us winning with Mud Slap's low base power, so I took the risk. Unfortunately for us though, our damage output just isn't enough at this level to pull us through. I'll have to spend whatever money I have on protein and gain a few more levels before trying again. I tried this fight again at level 44, and after buying as many protein as I could, which wasn't much, we are still just shy of Oko and Ghastly, leaving ourselves wide open to be cursed and whittled down yet again. It seemed I spoke too soon with that little comment I made after beating Bugsy. The damage output is surprisingly huge between 44 and 50, and to the point where we almost beat Morty, but because Quick Claw not activating at the end, we get outsped and put to sleep by Gengar, dealing yet another round of curse damage, to which is enough to spell our demise. My next attempt at 56 pissed me off. Our damage output was not much higher, and we knocked out Morty's last Pokemon, but because of recoil from Struggle, we went down as well, and since Joy's my only Pokemon, the game counts it as a loss. You gotta be absolutely kidding me. Finally, at level 64, we're able to OHKO both Ghastly and Haunter so we don't get cursed. Gengar puts us to sleep for what feels like the longest period in Pokemon history, only for Joy to wake up and retaliate with an OHKO crit. If it weren't for Happy's insane HP and special defense stats, this match would have been a loss. Once those three were down, Morty's final Haunter can't do much to the player, and we finally claim our 4th gym badge. I never thought I'd see the day where I have to grind to level 64 just to get the 4th gym badge in any Pokemon game. By some kind of miracle, we beat Chuck on our first attempt. Primeape went down to 1 Headbutt surprisingly, but Poliwrath only took half health from Headbutt as he puts us to sleep with Hypnosis. Joy then proceeds to avoid 3 Dynamic Punches while asleep, wakes up, and drops Poliwrath with another Headbutt. Talk about some insane luck. We would have absolutely lost this one if we got hit by even 1 Dynamic Punch. Joy surprised me yet again with Jasmine's gym. Seismic Toss OHKO'd both Magnemites, and I tried to use counter on Steelix knowing it only has Iron Tail, but she opted for Screech instead. I went for Seismic Toss next turn to bring her to yellow, as Joy takes an Iron Tail after having her defense lowered by 2 stages. How the hell? After that miracle, we take out Steelix with yet another Seismic Toss and claim our 6th gym badge. Price was also a one-try victory. Thanks to all the grinding we needed to beat Morty, our Headbutts dealt enough damage to Price's Pokemon to effectively 2-shot all of them for a fairly simple gym badge. Yet another rival battle at the Goldenrod Underground, and this match was a breeze. Thanks to Joy's absurd level, she can really hold her own now, but I fear this moment of ease shall come to an end once we reach Claire. Finally, it's Claire time, and we miraculously don't get paralyzed by any of Claire's Dragonairs thanks to the Gen 2 glitch of status moves having a chance of failing against the player. Once those 3 were down, Kingdra went down without much of a fight thanks to our absurd special defense stat, winning the fight on our first try and obtaining all of the Johto badges. One final rival fight before the Elite Four, and I got nervous when Magneton paralyzed us with Thunder Wave because Haunter could have easily cursed us, but instead he opted for Mean Look, as we break through the paralysis and one-shot him with Shadow Ball. Once Haunter was down, it was pretty much smooth sailing. Here we are right outside the Elite Four, and just look at how depressing our stats at level 74. The only 2 stats above 100 are our HP and special defense. Other than that, these stats are the worst we've seen on the channel yet. We came all this way though, so we gotta find out if we can at least beat the Elite Four in Pokemon Gold with only a Happiny. Let's do this! First up in the Elite Four is Will, and as I expected, he was no threat to us. Between Shadow Ball and our special defense stat, he couldn't really touch us, and we just dealt way too much damage back to his Pokemon for a nice smooth victory. Koga's match was a little messy on account that we couldn't OHKO any of his Pokemon. Venomoth was an issue for once, as he confused us with Supersonic. Thankfully, Muck didn't poison us with Toxic, and then the real threat, Crobat, came in. Our Headbutt did surprisingly underwhelming damage to him, as we got slammed hard by multiple wing attacks, but we persevered and finally took the 4-winged bat down. As I suspected, we got absolutely crushed by Bruno's macho fighting types. I'm not gonna lie to you all, I had a small glimmer of hope when we got Machamp down to red, but I knew we wouldn't prevail this time around. After running through the Elite Four a few more times, we try this match again at level 86, and on this fight, we finally flinch Machamp for a successful 2-shot, and once that threat was down, Bruno was defeated. I was honestly expecting Bruno to be a run killer, but we got through him fairly easily. Karen time, and we lost this match purely because of Umbreon's one stupid sand attack, which was enough to make Joy's crucial attacks miss against Gengar and Houndoom. Both of these Pokemon dealt massive damage to us either directly or residually. A few attempts later, and we don't get sand attacked by Umbreon, nor do we get paralyzed by Vileplume. We didn't get away scot-free though, as Gengar still cursed us, but because we had full health and accuracy, we were able to drop Murkrow and Houndoom before we succumbed to our curse. Champion Lance time, and I have to give you a blow-by-blow on this one because I still can't believe it. It starts off with us flinching Gyarados so he goes down while we remain at full health. Then, Lance's first Dragonite comes in. I predict the Hyper Beam and counter his attack for an easy one-shot. Next out is his second Dragonite, and this one has Thunder Wave, so as to not play any games with it, I go on the offensive right away, and the Gen 2 glitch kicks in as Dragonite's Thunder Wave fails. Out next is Aerodactyl, and I know he only has physical attacks, so I go for counter, but he survives in red and is able to get off a Hyper Beam before going down. Charizard comes in, and I try to flinch him with Headbutt, but he busts through and slams us with Slash, leaving us with only 46 HP. Charizard goes down, and last out is Dragonite. I go for a flinch yet again with Headbutt, but we don't get it. But Dragonite's Hyper Beam actually misses, and we have just enough offensive to take him out with one last Headbutt, placing Joy in the Johto Hall of Fame. If that battle went any differently, I might have grinded to level 100, but I'm so glad we got through it that easily. You know it's not over just yet though, as we have to try our luck at Red and Blue and Kanto. Let's see how that goes. After breezing my way through Kanto, it's time to face two of the hardest trainers in Pokemon history. Starting things off with Blue, and right away I could see this match isn't possible at this time, just on how much we struggled to take down Pidgeot. We did fairly well once Pidgeot went down, but it's clear to me we'll have to make the plunge and try again at level 100. Here are our stats at level 100, and these aren't much better than what we looked at back at level 74 from an offensive perspective. I also decided to replace the Quick Claw item with leftovers for some extra recovery. Make your final guesses on whether or not you think we can defeat these last two Titans. Let's do this. Despite our offensive stats only increasing slightly, it was enough to overpower Blue's team in the end. This match would have gone a lot quicker if Blue didn't make some questionable move choices like Fury Attack with Rhydon instead of Earthquake, or sending Gyarados into his demise during a sandstorm. He also fully healed Arcanine when he was just below green health. I don't know man, this match was just really weird and I'm happy to have won it. One final battle against Red, and I can tell you right away, it's gonna be a doozy. This is it, the final battle against Red, and here was my first attempt. Right away, Pikachu is a potential issue with Charm, so we'll have to make sure Pikachu doesn't land one of those on us. Next up is Espeon, who can't hurt us too much, but she does set up a Reflect to assist the rest of Red's team. Finally, there's Snorlax, who eats our attacks like Pokeblocks. The only legitimate way I could see us getting past Snorlax is if we predict the Body Slam and counter him. Otherwise, Joy has no chance of taking down this behemoth without flinch hacks from Headbutt. Hopefully it doesn't come down to that, because I did that once already and I don't need to do it again. On my next attempt, I found out that the counter tactic does indeed work against Snorlax, and we were able to take down the king of GSC. The problem was that when he went down, Venusaur was able to take us out because Espeon Psychic dropped our special defense stat. I think if we get to Snorlax without getting paralyzed, charmed, or having our defenses dropped, we'll have our best chance. What you all are witnessing is my best possible attempt. In this fight, we don't get charmed by Pikachu, Espeon doesn't drop our stats with Psychic, and Snorlax went down with the most health we've had yet. Unfortunately for us, since we had so much health, Red opted to start a sunny day with Venusaur, which means Joy got assaulted by solar beams before Charizard came out and quickly disposed of us. I could try this fight again with Quick Claw, but I would need so many activations it would be unrealistic, so leftovers is our best bet, especially since we need to remain healthy in this fight. Joy's poor offensive stats were ultimately her downfall in this fight, and I regret to say it, but Pokemon Gold takes its first victory on this channel. I hate throwing up the white flag on this challenge, but Joy did her absolute best considering her stats, and I'm happy to have made it all the way to Red's final 2 Pokemon. We gave Happiny some justice by registering her in the Johto Hall of Fame, which is a feat I was iffy about before this challenge even began. For my next impossible challenge though, we are going to try an interesting one. We're going to find out if it's possible to beat Pokemon Ruby using only a Phione, so if you don't want to miss that challenge, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Also be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment on your favorite part of the run. This has been your boy Rare Boy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace!